at some advice that's given to us in the Old Testament in Jeremiah 6:16 for just a moment. He says, this is what the Lord says. Now that's pretty important, isn't it? This is what the Lord says. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it. And you will find rest for your souls. Now I don't know, this is probably a 5th grade English question. Maybe it's earlier than that. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? You know, how many action verbs are there in what the Lord says to us here? Well, I think don't count them because I'm going to tell you there's 6. And if you come up and tell me there's a 7th one or something, then I'm going to be stumped by it. There's actually 2 of them that are used twice. But let me tell you what they are. The first one he says stand at the crossroads. He said stand. What does that mean? That doesn't mean slow down. That means stop. You can't stand unless you're still. He says stop at the crossroad. Then he says look. Stop and look. What's he saying? Get some perspective here. Look at where you are. Look behind you. Look back. 2007 beyond if you want. But look back. Look around you. Look ahead. Don't forget to look up while you're standing there. What's he saying? He's saying get perspective. Get some perspective. I mean, all of us want 2008, no matter what 2007 was, we want 2008 to be better. And if things are going to be better, then things have to be a little bit different. I'm probably going to have to make some different choices, maybe some different decisions, maybe take a little different path in some areas of my life, you know? But to do that, I can't just keep going on with life. I've got to stop, and I've got to look. I've got to get life in perspective. For some for who 2007 was maybe an incredibly difficult year for you, man, your head's likely to be down. And if you just go into 2008 without stopping and looking around you and looking ahead of you and looking up, you're not going to have perspective. You're going to be living back here somewhere. He says, stop, look. Then he says, ask. Ask what? Ask for the ancient path. Ask what the good way is. In other words, ask for God's help. Ask God to help you as you're standing there at the crossroad of 2008. Ask God for whatever it is that you need. You know, he says you have not because you what? Ask not. Man, God's been driving this thing home to me, and I'm feeling like I'm not smarter than a 2nd grader or a 1st grader. That's what I'm feeling like in the kingdom, because this is so simple. You have not because you ask not. Let me give you just a little example of how God's dealing with me in this. You know, Christmas Eve, you know, 3 services on Christmas Eve. To do those 3 services is it really requires a lot of effort, a lot of energy, all right? I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying that it takes that out of you when you do these services. Typically, I'm washed out by the end of the 3rd service and maybe by the end of the 2nd one. I feel like I've already given it, if you know what I mean. I sat over here Christmas Eve and waiting for the 2nd service to bring the message. And I sat there and I said, God. And God knows that the end of my day is not the best part of my day anyways. All right? It's the beginning of the day. God knows that. I know that. And so I sat there and I said, God, would you make this as though it was the early morning for me? And God knew what I was asking. And I prayed that between the 2nd and the 3rd services. And I can tell you that every service I did for me, physically, emotionally, was like the start of my day. And I thought, duh! How come I never asked before? So now I'm asking on Saturday nights and Sunday mornings. I actually go back to bed on Saturday afternoon to try to fool my body. Not really fool it, but to try to get it to the morning time. I really do. So that I have basically, hopefully, the alertness that I would have in the morning for Saturday evening at 5 o'clock. But I thought, how many times don't I just stop and ask God for the simple things of life that maybe I just don't even think about. I just think I have to do it.